Quinn, do not fall over.
What
But
was that?
I'm gonna try a class.
What was that?
I'm gonna try a class.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I gotta try this out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm glad you chose mine.
All right. Well, I guess I don't need really. Do I stay on video or probably
No,
go?
you can cut your camera off if you would like.
Okay.
All right.
Nor do you need my Autodesk background, really.
No, not exactly. All right. Well,
Okay.
we are gonna go ahead and get started here. Thanks for coming into our pillar strength and movement prep. Working on a couple of different movements, fairly similar to last week's class. Just making sure that we're really honing in some key strength exercises here. First thing we're gonna do is our warm up. We're gonna go through some knee hugs, hamstring sweeps, and shoulder retractions. Some of my favorite ways to get all of the areas of the body sort of warmed up and kind of loose, starting to feel that mind-body connection from head to toe. Then we're gonna go into our workout, which is gonna start with plank rotations. And then we've got shoulder taps, glute bridges, a kneeling Cossack squat, lunges, leg raises, plank extensions, and Supermans. So about 8 or so, yeah, 8 exercises, I think. We're gonna go twice through, then finish off with a little bit of stretching and cooling down at the end. Okay, so starting off with our knee hugs, we're gonna bend forward, lower our hands to the shin, grab those knees, and pull up towards the chest, releasing after a quick little tug, and switching sides. Bending forward, grabbing that shin, and pulling back up. Nice, even pace. Finding our rhythm and balance, getting some good movement here as we lower forward and pick those knees up. A few more. And relax. Good. Next up, we're really going to dig deep into that hamstring with our ham sweeps. Bringing our foot out forward, toes pointed up. We're going to reach the hands back behind and drop the hands through the hips all the way through the heel and extending back up to standing, keeping that same foot forward and keeping our balance. We're going to sweep through and come back up, staying on the same side. Each time we come down and back up. One more here on this side. And back up, and then switching. Bringing our other foot forward, keeping those toes pointed up. Knee completely straight. We're not bending that front leg as we lower down. Trying to get those fingertips as low to the ground as we can. Extending the hands back behind the hips and sweeping down. A few more. Really trying to find that release as we go nice and slow through the back of the leg and standing tall. All right, very good. Next up, we're going to do our shoulder retraction. So we're going to bring our hands out in front, index fingers pointed forward like we're holding a 6-shooter, standing down the barrel of it. From here, we're going to keep our chin and chest nice and tall, and we're going to pull those shoulders back behind like we're crushing an egg in the middle of our back. So if we imagine a little egg there right in the middle of our back, we're trying to break that egg and relax forward. Getting those hands pressed away, keeping those shoulders nice and low away from the ear. You're squeezing that egg in the back and lowering back. Nice, even pace. Holding that shoulder pinch. Keeping those shoulders down and away from the earlobes. And relaxing out. Good. Now that we've got our warm-up done, we're going to head into our workout. So first thing we're going to do is our plank rotations. So headed down towards the floor on our mat here. We're going to hop up into a pillar plank position. So hands are going to be underneath the shoulders. We're going to extend the feet back as the knees come up. And we're going to get our feet just slightly wider than the hips. From here, we're going to switch up onto one hand, open our palm towards the camera, hold one hand, and come back down. Shifting our weight over, we're going to extend the other hand up, keeping those feet wide, that weight nice and supported through the arm, and switching back. Couple of seconds hold, about 5 seconds hold, and then rotating down to the other side. Very good. We've got one more on each side. And lowering back down. Last one. And finished. Good. From here, we're going to go into our shoulder taps. So let's get a little rock back, extend out the shoulders, give them a little bit of a break. And we're going to pop those feet straight back, feet together here. And we're going to be tapping those shoulders back and forth. You can widen up the feet a little bit, get a little bit more stability there. Nice and balanced. As we shift back and forth between our hands here. A couple more seconds. And rest. Good. Next up, we're going to go into our glute bridges. So laying flat on our back, we're going to get our feet flat on the floor, knees pointed up. Hands down by our side. We're going to drive our hips up into the air, creating a nice flat line from the shoulder through the heels to the knees. Holding those hips up and lowering down. Slow, nice and easy, giving a quick tap at the bottom and scooping right back up to the top. Sucking that belly button into spine. Getting those hips up and trying to keep that straight line from the shoulder through the hips, through the knees. Lowering down nice and slow. Feeling that tap and coming back up. Getting a nice hold. Driving up through the hips, through the heels. Let's go. One more drop down. And back up. Hold just a little bit longer. And lowering back down. Very good. Next up, we have our kneeling Cossack squats. So we're going to get on one knee here. Bring one foot up and open. So I bring that foot forward, I spin it 90 degrees out to the side, so my toes are pointed straight out to the hips. My shoulders and my hips are still square with my original kneeling position, and I'm going to drive that knee out over the toe, opening out to the side, getting a little bit of a stretch in here, keeping that weight over the middle of the foot, and driving through the pad of the foot, right through that middle portion of the foot, right through the knuckles there. Really driving those hips nice and clear through. A couple more on this side. The idea here is to try and activate the muscles on the inner thigh versus your quads and your hamstrings on top and below the thigh. Go ahead and switch sides. In doing that, we actually train the muscles of the entire leg to be a little bit stronger because now we're using more of them versus being predominant in our quads or our hamstrings. So it's not the most intense burning exercise, but it should give you a little bit of focus to that mind-body connection to try and use those muscles that get stretched out a little bit as we drive back up. Couple more. And good. All right. Now that we have those thigh muscles inside nice and firing, we're going to use them to help stabilize our lunges. So from here, we're going to start in a split stance position. From here, we're going to drop the hips down to the heel, driving that knee out over the toe, tapping the knee down very gently and coming back up. So that knee wants to track right over the second toe, right on the outside of that big toe. Following in line with that second toe, driving the weight up through the middle of the foot. Got a couple more here. Keeping our balance as we shift that weight forward and drive back up. And switch legs. So getting that front foot forward, driving that knee out past the second toe, tapping down and coming back up. Really loading the middle of the foot and driving up like a spring as we come back up top. Couple more. And done. Good. Next up, we've got our leg raises. So laying flat on our back again, we're going to extend the feet out straight, getting our hands underneath the hips. We're going to pull our lower back down to the ground. So our back is flat, sucking that belly button into spine, locking in the torso, and then bringing those feet up as high as they'll go, and nice and slow back down. Really controlling the weight up and back down. Trying to keep that time under tension real high. That's where the strength's made. Nice even pace. Raising and lowering those legs, getting them as high as they'll go, making sure we're keeping that lower back pulled down to the ground. We're not trying to swing the hips too high up here, but keep those abdominal muscles nice and engaged. And rest. Good. Next up, we have our plank extension. So getting our hands down to the ground, getting our feet wide. We're going to have our hands directly below the shoulder, feet a little bit wider than hip width, so we're nice and stable. And we're popping back up into our pillar position. And we're extending one hand out, holding for about 3 seconds, switching hands, moving down to the feet, picking one foot up, switching feet, keeping that belly button sucked up to spine, hips and shoulders level, moving our way back around to the hand, switching, back to the foot. Switching. And lowering back down. Good. Next up, we have our Superman. So laying flat down on our stomach. We're gonna get our hands right out in front. From here, we're gonna pick the hands and feet up, getting that chest up off the floor, getting a nice hold up into the air like we're flying, right next to a jet, like Superman. And back down, give a little rest and popping back up, getting those hands and feet up as high as they'll go, sucking that belly button to spine, trying to get activation all the way from knuckles to toe, and lowering back down. And last one, popping back up, hands and feet come up, holding. We're gonna get a nice long hold through this last one. Keep those hands up, nice and strong, sucking the belly button up to spine. Keeping that hold. And relax down. Very good. All right, 50% of the way. Finished with our first part of the circuit. We're going back to those plank rotations. So on our hands and knees, we're gonna get our hands directly below the shoulders, feet a little bit wider than the hips, and popping those knees up off the ground, rotating up into a plank rotation, holding that weight and switching down, rotating our other hand up, getting nice and strong through the shoulder and switching down, rotating through the other side, keeping those hips up off the ground. Couple more. Holding. Last one on each side. Hold up and switch. And lowering back down. Very good. All right, from here, we're going to go into our shoulder taps. So hands directly underneath the shoulder, feet back, knees up, feet getting wide. We're going back and forth between opposite hand and shoulder. Nice even pace, trying to keep those hips level, belly button sucked up to spine. Minimal movement from side to side as we're really trying to lock in that cross body stability here from hand to opposite foot as we pick that hand up. A few more seconds. And rest. Good. Next up, we've got our glute bridges. So it's amazing how much my mat will move. So flat on our backs, getting our feet flat on the ground. We can get your hands right by your hips and driving the hips up through the heels. We're popping up, creating a nice flat line from our shoulders through our hips into the knee. If you're having trouble really getting those hips high, try and bring your heels a little bit closer to the hips when you start, and then you can drive up and really create some nice space between your hips and the ground. Lowering down, feeling that tap on the bottom, coming back up, sucking that belly button to spine, trying to get those abs locked in and engaged as we're holding up here. Nice and even, dropping down, lowering down, even weight through both heels, and popping up, holding at the top. Nice flat line all the way through. And lowering back down, last one here. Popping up. Sucking that belly button to spine, holding up at the top. And lowering back down. Very good. Next up, we have our kneeling Cossack squat. So getting down on one knee to start, bringing one foot up and forward, opening that foot up to the side at 90 degrees, keeping our shoulders and our hips square to the camera. We're gonna lunge out to the side, always tracking that knee out over the second toe. Moving back and forth, pressing through the middle of the foot as we lower that weight down and back up. Nice and even, couple more. And switching sides after this one. Good. Switching out, turning that foot to the outside, getting our hips square and lowering down. Getting that weight over the middle of the foot, driving that knee out past the second toe. Really trying to engage the middle inner thigh here, stabilizing those hips and driving that weight back up. A few more. And good. Next up, we've got our lunges. So 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, and we're dropping that weight straight down, getting that knee tap and back up. Keeping that weight over the middle of the foot. Keeping our balance the whole time as well. Or at least trying to. Driving nice and low and getting back up. Really loading that whole forward leg and driving up. Keeping the weight over the middle of the foot. Couple more. And switch. Finding that midpoint over the foot and driving that knee up. Getting that knee out past the second toe. Slight tap to the ground and back up. Almost there. And done. Good. Next up, we're going into our leg raises. So flat on our back, feet extended out. We're going to get our hands underneath the hips, sucking that belly button to spine, keeping that back flat on the floor. We're going to bring our feet straight up as far as they'll go without those hips raising up off the ground, and slowly lowering back down. Feeling that heel tap and come back up. Really starting to get control of our breath again, trying to cool things down and really focus through the last portion of this exercise in this workout. Nice, even pace, controlled down, and quick back up. Keeping that back pulled down to the floor, belly button stuck to spine. And lowering down for the final one. Very good. Next up, second to last exercise, we've got our plank extension. So hands underneath the shoulders, maybe a little bit wider than the chest. Feet come back a little bit wider than the hips. And we're bringing one hand up, extending out, and switching. Other hand out, down to the foot. Getting that balance, a little challenge. And extending hand out again. Switching sides. And down to the feet. And last one. Very good, lowering down. Last exercise here, almost done with the workout, is our Supermans. Last couple of seconds of work here. Really make it count. Push 2 to the end. Hands out in front. We're gonna pick the hands and feet up. Holding, squeezing at the top, bringing those hands and heels high. Getting nice, engaged, sucking that belly button to spine and lowering down. Popping back up, holding up at the top, getting a nice flying through the air type of position here. Bringing those hands and heels up and lowering down. Last one, we're getting an extra long hold. So pop up, holding up at the top. Focusing in on our breath. Sucking that belly button up to spine, keeping those hands and heels up. Trying to create that connection all the way through from the knuckle to the heels. Getting the whole body active. And lowering back down. Very good. Take some nice deep breaths. Catch our breath again. Focus in. Listening to the body. Here we're going to get a very quick workout, or not workout, cool down. So we did a lot of like leg and some quad work today with those glute bridges, the lunges, and the leg raises. They're kind of not really the glute bridges, but a lot of it was very front leg heavy. So we're going to do a hurdler stretch right now, which is just folding the leg back, bringing the heel to the outside of the hip. From here, you keep one leg extended and gently lower your body down into a supported position. If you're feeling not much of a stretch here, you can lower your body down to the back and lay completely down on the floor, getting a nice stretch through the quads and the hip flexors on the front of the thigh there. Nice deep breaths. Catching our breath again. Calming, relaxing those muscles. And rolling out to the side, extending that leg back out, flipping to the other side as we fold that leg back and lowering down onto our backs, stretching out that quad and hip flexor. Trying to just release that tension and cool the body down here. And rolling out to the side, popping back up, and finishing our routine there. Thank you guys so much for hopping in today. I hope you enjoyed the class. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or things that you would like me to try and improve upon for my future classes, feel free to send me a shout. Or if you have any questions in general about how to stay healthy, how to keep moving and build a routine, feel free to give me a shout. So thank you guys so much for coming in, and I hope to see you next time.
Thank you, Quinn. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. That was awesome.